What's going on, family? Anton from AntonDaniels.com on behalf of the Lapeef Network. I got my homie Avon. What's up, Avon? You muted, bro.
What's going on, man? Just enjoying this grizzly weather out here. I'm actually into that sort of thing.
That's what's up. And I got my homie Jay on my right hand side, right hand man today with the Knicks hat on.
Oh,
You already know. What's good with y'all, man? How y'all doing?
Chilling, bro. Listen, I got some curveballs today. JR let me out the cage. He said, Anton,
oh.
I'm going to give you the controls today.
All right. Let's see where you taking it, man.
He said, I'm going to give you the controls today and I'm going to let you out the cage, bro. I said, JR, I can't promise you that this is going to go the way that we usually go on the Lapeef Network, on the Lapeef Sports, but I promise you it's going to be entertaining. I promise you it's going to be entertaining. Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Let's get these
so,
curveballs, man.
So this is the way that we're going to do this, right? I do want to get my fellas, so we're going to prioritize me, the big homie Avon, and shout out to the homie JR. JR is out taking care of business on behalf of the network. So we said, yo, JR, I want to give you the day off. I want to give you the day off, big homie. So you take care of your business, you relax. Yeah, you relax, you enjoy the show, and then we gonna cook up and we gonna do what we do. All right. So I do got a few curveballs for y'all. I want to get the audience. I want to get the comments. I want to get everybody involved. So if you can please hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. In addition, can you please subscribe to the Lapeef Network channel? We rocking out, we kicking it, we gonna cook up, and we definitely gonna have some dope conversations, and we not gonna be filtered, and we gonna get straight to it because this is not only the best network on earth, but it's also the best sports show on earth. I promise y'all after the day, y'all gonna be saying it's the best sports show on earth, all right? So listen, let me say that I'm going to drop the link and pin it to the top of the chat. Also, can you guys support Teach Hanley by supporting the channel? The link is pinned to the top of the chat for Teach Hanley. I am going to drop the link in the description, and I'm going to drop the link in the chat for you guys to be able to participate shortly. But prior to us doing that, I want to introduce our first topic of the night or of the day, and we're going to get straight to it. And it's not going to be PC. It's not going to be something that y'all definitely going to want to get involved in, right? But I'm going to drop the first topic of the day. And the first topic of the day is, hold on, let me get my banners together. You know what I'm saying? First topic of the day is NFL teams is asking for more jab information after Antonio Brown and Mike Edwards suspensions.
Uh-oh.
Look, I seen you sit up over there, Jay. He had to get his water. He had to get himself together. Listen, I got some spicy subjects for y'all, and we definitely gonna get into the whole Brittany Renner, Deion Sanders things.
Yes.
But before we get into that, I want to talk about, because I've been talking about Antonio Brown for a long time now. I think he can't get right. And I want to invite you guys into the comments to be able to have this conversation. NFL teams is asking for more jab information after Antonio Brown and Mike Edwards suspensions. Avon, what are your thoughts on this, fam? You gonna kick us off on this one?
I hope people's lives is in order as they come looking, man. By this happening with Antonio Brown, it's probably gonna have a lot of people in the league nervous right now with him. Like, wait a minute. And the crazy thing about it to me is, I feel like in our society right now, if you lie about this topic, you're gonna catch more hell if you just pick a side. Just pick a side, bro. Just pick a side. When you're trying to finesse, that's when everybody on both sides is coming at you. And like you said, he's just out of order, man. He one of them dudes that just don't think before he act. This is not surprising at all. And I think there's a lot of other dudes in the league like him. And we gonna see in the next couple of weeks, a lot of people gonna get exposed, man.
I can't understand for the life of me why somebody would put their pride and their resources and the way in which they feed their family and all of that on the line. And it was like, yo, he finally got into a groove with an organization that was rocking with him regardless. And then he put himself in a position where he's still forcing everybody to question. And now it's becoming less about his talent and more about his character. Yo, Jay, give me some insight on what your thoughts are on, and we can't say the word, so we got to say jab, but give me some thoughts on what it is that you think about this whole Antonio Brown, and the league is now starting to, because in my opinion, it's almost like a situation where he created if everybody else was messing up, now they about to have eyeballs on them when they originally didn't have that heat, but then he messed up and then he couldn't get his stuff together. And let me give the people a little bit of backstory before you go, Jay. So Antonio Brown allegedly, right, had gave fake jab information because, the organization was requiring, or the NFL was requiring, jabs. And he got into it apparently with a chef, and his girlfriend didn't pay the chef. And so his girlfriend was texting back and forth, and that was the evidence. And the chef wound up being the person that exposed him and putting out the screenshots of the text messages asking him for fake jab cards. And so that created the suspicion, which launched the investigation. And then ultimately, the NFL is cracking down much, much harder as a result of people like Antonio Brown, which is a very visible person, can't get right in the first place. But now they're starting to crack down and do more investigations on other players. Jay, what's your thoughts on this whole situation with regard to Antonio Brown?
Honestly, I feel like it's going to be too many people now that he's got them looking and lifting up carpets and seeing who's not correct. It's going to be too many people that affects their bottom line. So they're going to put some provisions so that they don't have to come out and say all of these people are not living correctly. All these people went through some backdoor channel to get that information to us. I think it's going to be way too many people for them to enforce it and say, you out of here. I think he's just one. I mean, as a player, I would be pissed off at him for forcing them to do that. But once they start peeking behind, opening up closets, it's going to be too much for it to enforce.
They're giving out real time for that. Like, they charging people heavy for the fake jab cards.
Yes,
They're not
indeed.
playing. I know they are for regular civilians. We haven't really seen it play out with, athletes and celebrities and things like that. But I know that they giving out, they charging people for real. What do you think that the repercussions are going to be, if they find out, and will they even take it to another level with regard to, being federally charged or something like that, if they found out that he did submit a fake jab card?
Are you talking about him personally, or are you just speaking about everybody?
In general, everybody.
In general, see, I feel like the NFL is going to protect their players. I don't even think they're going to let it get to that level. I think they're going to enforce it internally. If we hear of anything, we might hear of a fine that is titled something else, but they won't specifically say, yo, this is why they got fined. It's going to be titled something else, because they're not going to let all their players go down for that. Do
they have a choice though? Because I mean, what's the worst case scenario? Let's just say, for example, they try to hide it or they don't let it go down or whatever, right? Is it worse to just come out ahead of time and just expose whoever it is that's not playing their part correct? Because maybe it's not as bad as far as it affecting the league. Like, is it better to save the reputation of the league, or is it more important to play a role in protecting the profits right now, though?
I think it's better to protect your players, because that trickles down. If the players feel like the league have their back and their well-being in hand, I feel good about that. I know they got my back. You look at the Deshaun Watson situation. All of that stuff was talked about and discussed in those front offices, but until somebody, went live and spoke about that situation, or, he went against the grain as far as what the team wanted him to do after they did all that protecting, they just threw him to the wolves, So with this situation, they're going to protect their players as long as they can.
Yeah, they're going to protect the product on the field. That's bottom line. These guys are number one businessmen before anything, man. They're gonna protect the product on the field. Crazy part to me is that I think it's going to be a situation where they react kind of like the NFL is one of them leagues. They put the flag up, they see which way the wind is blowing, and when whatever direction the wind is blowing, that's how they move. They did that with the whole Black Lives Matter thing. They did it with the Colin Kaepernick kneeling thing. whatever the direction the wind is blowing, that's how they're gonna move because they don't want to be out of the mainstream. They probably poll like every week to see how their fans feel about stuff or whatever, man. But I think what's gonna happen is they'll make an example out of him, and this will be kind of like the NFL's way of looking at the players like, what you want to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, clean up your act right now. So
And then it's like once they start lifting that hood, what else are they gonna find? You know what I mean? It's like, do you even want
to find anything under there? You know what I mean? They are a league where as long as you stepping on the field and as long as you aren't harming women and children, and even then there's some room for some maneuvering, they gonna protect the product on the field, man.
Real quick, it's almost like the IRS. People tell you, yo, you better chill with them taxes, fam, because the thing is, once they come to your door once, they're going to keep an eye on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to be looking to see what type of funny business you got going on for the next 4 to 7 years, you know, as long as they want to. So you don't want to bring them to your front door. So I feel like they're going to protect.
But I guess that's my thing, though, right? It's like, because you don't see stuff like this happen with Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see, even with Aaron Rodgers, right? The thing about it was that, you know, the controversy was around whether or not he was being honest or truthful or not, but it had nothing to do with him breaking the law. You know what I'm saying? Like, the controversy is based off of our personal opinion towards them versus, even if it is like an Aaron Rodgers, you may see something happen or something pop off when that whole situation with Ben Roethlisberger and you know what I'm saying, the chick and, you know, the chicks that he was messing with and all of that. When that went away, it went away forever. You don't hear nothing else about Ben except for possible retirement talk. When you see people like an Antonio Brown, that stuff happens over and over. And it's like, it don't matter what it is. It's going to be something with him getting into it with a coach. It's going to be something with him submitting something wrong. It's just over and over. And so I guess my question, and Avon, you kind of hit it a little bit, is are they looking to protect the players, or are they looking to protect the league overall, and that they're willing to let the troublemakers fall on the sword in order to kind of sort of paint the picture that they are on the up and up, right? But they still are protecting the product on the field, because let's be clear, it is about that product on the field. We got to put the product on the field in order to make money. But is it about protecting the players, or is it more or less about protecting the brand? Simply because I don't think that somebody like Antonio Brown in the eyes of the league is worth saving.
Well, let me ask you a question. What if taking Antonio Brown comes at the expense of a Tom Brady?
How? What do you mean? How could it come at the expense of a Tom Brady?
So
championship wise, winning the ring?
No. Well, okay, that's another perspective. But what if, you know, they start asking these questions and Tom Brady comes up not to be on the up and up with his particular situation? Then what do? Are you willing to take that risk, or are you willing to dispose of who's been the face of the league for the past, 18, 20 years just because some dummy who stays in some mess, what would like in that situation?
Know. You know what? That's a really good question. And I'd love to get Avon's insight on it. But I guess for me, I always looked at the NFL as a league. You got majority of the players from the NFL, you wouldn't notice if you walk down the street next to them because they all play with helmets on.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady is probably the anomaly in that he's the most visible as far as being a poster boy. But when you take anybody outside of Tom Brady, I think every last one of them people is disposable, because you can always build a new star. And there's too many players on the team. I think it's a faceless league outside of the Tom Brady's and maybe Pat Mahomes or something like that, an upcoming star. But I think anybody else is disposable. Whereas in the NBA, you need the stars, and that's why they have a little bit more power on the floor. I don't know, Avon, what you think?
No, I absolutely agree. This is their number one. Now it's a faceless league except for quarterbacks. I don't know if you remember, there was an era about, I think it was between 2000 and 2005 where half the quarterbacks in the league were out for the season. You know what I mean? Like, this is when guys started to get bigger, faster, stronger. Quarterbacks was getting the heads torn off every 5 weeks. And then they start putting in the rules like, hey, man, these guys are the product. We can't have Steve McNair, Donovan McNabb, everybody on IR every other season because now you got Uncle Rico playing quarterback half the season. You know, I think they're gonna fry. I think they're gonna fry Antonio because no one cares.
Uncle Rico.
If you look at it, that's the majority of the backups in the league are, man. They below average quarterbacks. And
shout out to Napoleon Dynamite.
Do you really want to watch? Hey, do you really want to watch Andy Dalton, or do you want to watch Nick Foles play 10 games this year? I don't. You know what I mean? So they're going to. I think they're going to fry Antonio Brown because we've all wrapped our minds around the fact that Antonio Brown was probably should have been out of the league 2-3 years ago. Like, we getting bonus time on Antonio Brown. He should have been gone a couple of years ago. But they're going to protect the product on the field up until the point where, unless it's somebody that I think the NFL does a great job of understanding who the masses do and don't like. Like, they're real careful not to criticize or overstep their bounds on players that have really good Q ratings. But guys who have bad backgrounds, man, they'll sell you down the river for nothing. You are replaceable, bro. So I think what's going to happen is that they're going to cook who they can cook, and then they're going to silently kind of like hint, hint, wink, wink. Please go handle this business so you don't embarrass us any farther.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody, I think it's Caveman Talk or something like that. Let me pull you up. Let me see what your comment was again. He said that they did suspend Tom Brady for 4 games over Deflategate. So I know Island Girl Q, shout out to Island Girl Q in the chat. She was saying that anybody else would have been more than 4 games. But I thought that was an interesting point that he made, and that maybe even Tom Brady is not above, the league. I just think that the NFL is a unique league, and they've created a product that they can control, and that nobody is above the league. But I could be off. I could be completely off.
There's politics to it too. I mean, look who Tom Brady played for 20 years. Played for the Crafts. The Crafts are very close to the league. There are certain franchises and certain owners, when they go tap on Roger Goodell's shoulder, they tend to get what they want. So I think, it's going to be a situation. It's a political league, man. We've seen what's happened in the past with guys who step out of bounds and go, they cross the league. And then it's like I said, it depends on what your Q rating is. And if you're somebody that the general public likes, they're going to take a lighter hand with you. If you are random running back number 2 for the Ravens or whatever, you out here drinking and driving, they'll holler at you. There's about 10 other dudes, floating around that we can do that with.
And I think that Tom Brady situation, though, with the 4-game suspension, I think that was a culmination of things. It was like, okay, he got to pass on this. He got to pass on this. What? You deflating footballs? All right. We gotta spank you, fam. We gotta spank you, and we giving you a 4-game suspension. So I think that 4-game suspension wasn't just for that specific incident. It was just a bunch of things like, all right, bro, we gotta do this.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
We gotta do this.
They probably negotiated with him on that 4-game suspension. It was like,
That's
how much can you take, fam?
And leagues,
Exactly.
Leagues are smart to do this. I'm pretty sure that the NBA will sit down with a LeBron James or a Kevin Durant in certain situations to get their feedback and, try to get a feel of which way the wind is blowing in certain situations, because it's their products at the end of the day. It's LeBron. Like, let's go back to the fight last week. If LeBron would have knocked that dude out cold, and that dude would have bumped his head and fell into a coma, I still don't think they was going to give him a bunch of games, because who's going to watch that league? Who's going to watch a LeBron-less NBA?
Yeah, I agree. That's good stuff, fellas. Hey, listen, I'm going to need y'all to hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Memberships are open. That's also in the description. Make sure you show love to our sponsor, Teach Henley. That's pinned to the top of the chat. We're going to do a couple more quick hits. Quicker than this one, a couple more quick hits, because I just want to get the fellas' take on it. And then we're going to jump right into the whole Deion Sanders, Brittany Renner conversation. But I do want to go and switch and pivot a little bit and talk about the NBA. I was checking out a game. I watched a couple games over the last week. on TV, specifically the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors piqued my interest, right? And last night, the Golden State Warriors absolutely routed the Phoenix Suns right after, and they broke their 18-game win streak, but right after the Phoenix Suns beat the Golden State Warriors. In your opinion, gentlemen, who is the best team in the league in the NBA?
Warriors. They're deeper. They can lose a component right now and still keep on marching. Phoenix loses one of those big three, they're an average team. The Warriors are so much more deeper than everybody else right now. I mean, Clay ain't even playing. Like, think about that. You're going to have to push somebody who is putting in some real work in that starting five right now to the bench. That is an amazing luxury to have. Amazing. In depth is everything when you get to the playoffs. I mean, rotations get shorter, but when you can go 9-10 deep in a playoff scenario, that's hard to coach against, man.
Yeah, I think the Warriors, to me, they're like a modernized San Antonio Spurs. You know, it's always like the next man up. You could just interchange pieces and they still work because they have like a variation of that triangle. So it's just constant motion. You know what I mean? There's no true point guard. I mean, even though, you know, you'll say Steph is the point guard, but if he's not the point guard, whoever has the ball at the top of the key, that's the point guard. They don't care if it's the center, if it's Draymond, you know what I mean? And everybody's interchanging. So I think they're effortless. They know where they're supposed to be. They know what they're supposed to be doing. Right now, they're moving, yo. They're moving.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody in the comments said that they lost to the Spurs. Man, everybody loses to somebody trash.
That's true.
At least once or twice, man. You can't run through this league without having a bad night. I think the Bulls lost to the Rockets a week or something ago, man. Everybody has a bad night in the league, but the league is about depth and talent. And in a 7-game series, your depth and your talent will be pushed to the limit. And I just don't see how you beat the Golden State Warriors 4 games in 7. I don't know where you find 4 wins in 7.
Do you think that, because a lot of people remember, obviously, because we've seen the run that the Warriors went on back even before Kevin Durant had joined, and we talk a lot about their chemistry, right? We talk about how they run in and they got a deep bench and, you know, they got size, they got length, they have great coaching. Do you think that Clay's return, even though, you know, we consider Clay and Steph probably the greatest backcourt of all time, arguably, right? Do you think that Clay's return will throw off that chemistry? Because he is practicing and he's practicing full time. He's doing 5-on-5s. They say he's ready to go, but they're not worried about it because the team is automatic. You know, they rolling. So they're just trying to get him all the way up. They're trying to get him in basketball shape. Do you think that Clay's return will ultimately throw off the chemistry or force the Warriors into a space where they're trying to get reacclimated with the rotation, and that affects their championship chances?
I don't think that is Clay's problem. I think Clay, you know, actually getting in the game, he'll have some actual rust to knock off because, you know, from what I hear, it's nothing like actual NBA minutes, you know, so there'll be some rust. But as far as throwing off the chemistry, whoever gets removed from that rotation, I mean, that'll essentially be their problem. But I don't think that that's going to affect that wheel from still spinning.
That right there is the most important part. You look at LA, you have a lot of guys who used to be number ones who seem to be struggling with becoming 2s, 3s, and 4s. I just don't think the Warriors have that culture. You know what I mean? Where I think that's a locker room where you step into that locker room, you understand your role, and you perform, or they'll find somebody else on that bench. I don't think the Lakers have a similar culture to that. And, you know, somebody was saying, well, I think the only way that this will throw off is if Clay tries to do too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he comes back in there and feels like he has to be a 20, 30-point guy or whatever, That's what's going to throw off chemistry because, bro, you're doing too much. You just came off a year and a half of injury. Man, go stand down there in that short corner and shoot that three, man. Just play within the flow of the offense. And he's not a guy that needs the ball in his hands, so I think he'll assimilate better. I think that's different for point guards and centers because those are the people that need the ball in their hands. Guys who are used to playing without the ball tend to come back pretty seamlessly.
And I think the culture of that team, I don't care if you come in and you get 6 minutes a game, like they are encouraging you. You know, I think I was watching the game the other day. You seen, I think it was Gary Payton Jr., and he was out there guarding everybody. It was like a series of maybe like 2 minutes where he was out there, ran to this corner, guard that shot missed, ran to that. And, you know, you seen Iguodala come off the bench like, yeah, I see you, fam. You know, he wasn't a big part of that game, but that little addition, they appreciated that. And, you know, it made them feel good. Like, fam, you bust your ass in this 6 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you have to create that in the locker room, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's on the coach and for the building a culture where everyone wants everybody to succeed. Everybody wants everyone to win. Everybody is showing up and doing their job. But that's, strangely enough, for grown men in the league making millions of dollars, not a common thing. You know what I mean? Everybody's ego sometimes can get involved. And okay, well, I've been busting my butt while this dude been on the bench. And now he come back, he get all my minutes. I guarantee you that type of conversation is not tolerated, or it's probably not even never happens in that locker room. LA, the Nets, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that ain't happening in the Warriors locker room now because they have a strong culture.
Let me just pivot really quickly before we jump to the next subject. Do you guys still have, or largely within the league, a lot of people are mentioning Steph Curry as the MVP. Are you guys in agreement with that? Or if not, who do you see as the MVP as of this point prior to going into Christmas?
Best player on the best team, Steph, man. I can't think of anybody else right now. I mean, as a Bulls fan, seeing Bulls fans cry for DeMar DeRozan to get MVP, I like DeMar too and all, but you're doing too much. But best player on the best team, and not only is he scoring the basketball, he's led them through all this injury and led through them all this up and down, man. Like that's what an MVP is, the most valuable player. And he's valuable for so many different reasons.
Yeah, I would say Steph Curry, Chris Paul, you know, but Steph is leading it, man.
Some people are saying KD. A lot of people got KD. Is KD even on y'all radar as far as considering him for MVP and taking in consideration? And I've been talking about the Phoenix Suns prior to, and people said that, I don't know, it was a fluke last year and all of this, right? Because the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors practically got the exact same record, right? The best records in the league. Is KD even on y'all radar? And do you even, because I remember y'all had a conversation when I wasn't here last week about Chris Paul. Do y'all take Chris Paul's rating and how it is that he's acknowledged within the league as one of the best point guards? Have you guys reconsidered about how it is that you see Chris Paul versus comparing him to Steph Curry?
I mean, no. I mean, I know you had to leave church for that one, dog. I know you was a little upset about that one, but for me, I didn't look at it as we're comparing a really good apple to a really bad apple. I think it was we're comparing apples to oranges. They're two different types of players. Steph is a shooting guard for the most part. He can play the one and he can play it well, but the system that they play in allows him to do more than be a floor general. I think Chris Paul is straight up just a floor general, and there's nothing wrong with that. He fits exactly what Phoenix needs him to do, but Steph can do so many more things. He can be a floor general one night. He can be a scorer the next night. I mean, we're talking about two different types of players, and I don't think either one of them is bad. I don't think Chris Paul is a bad player. You're asking me to, I guess, do you want a Range Rover or do you want an Escalade? I know which one I want, but we're talking about two very fancy vehicles that do some very different things.
I don't.
So Jay, let me ask you a question. Do you see and let me bring up the homie Kyle real quickly also. What's up, Kyle?
Kyle was
What's going
good, man.
on?
Kyle, yeah. So Kyle, I'm gonna bring you in on the next one, but I want to get Jay's last take because I want to do one more quick take before we get into the Brittany Renner conversation and Deion Sanders. Jay, is KD on your register, or is he even on your radar as far as considering him as an MVP when you start looking at what Steph is doing over there in the West?
You can never discount KD, man. You can never discount KD. I mean, you can question his impact. Well, you can question his impact on the team and what's going on around him, because there's always appears to be drama surrounding him. But as far as his skill, as far as who you want taking that last shot, you can never discount him. So I would definitely put, him and Giannis there's like in the third or fourth slot as far as, Chris Paul, Steph Curry. I would put them in that third and fourth, but you can't discount KD, man.
All right, so while Kyle get his go ahead, Jay.
As much as we may laugh about his damn skin condition, his damn skincare regimen.
I mean, that's one of those situations where he's literally. You know what? I think the reason I didn't overreact to that is I've coached kids like this before. Kevin Durant is that kid when he was 7, 8 years old. When he was in gym, you had to fight to take the ball from him and tell him to go play. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of them dudes where hooping is his life. He's so tuned into hooping that he don't even care about his personal appearance. That's all that matters to him. And on some levels, that's a power thing for him. That's a good thing. But man, what does he do when practice is over? When games like, I guess, just sit on Twitter on his burner account and yell but like, bro, lotion.
Yeah, I seen a meme, that shit said he's part snake. Yeah, that was terrible.
Let me pivot. One more quick hit before we get to the Brittany Renner conversation. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with what happened to Georgia the other day, but Alabama absolutely cemented their legacy once again, as obviously the best team in college football. And I call Alabama a mini NFL team, especially considering what they got going over there is, don't have any kind of national representation as far as being in an NFL team, having an NFL team. I call Bama a mini NFL team. What do you guys think about the Crimson Tide absolutely topping Georgia in the SEC championship game on Saturday afternoon? What are your thoughts?
And Saban is a dang genius. Him and Belichick, man, they might have been separated at birth or something, man. Like that, a lot of teams have talent. A lot of guys have top 5 recruiting classes. A lot of guys got the right assistants. You got the right environment. But man, think about what happened in the week leading up to the Georgia game. You know what I mean? Like that guy probably coached that team up. And that is the value of an above average or even exceptional head coach. A lot of them players probably went into that week like, damn, here comes Georgia. Is this, and he probably got them in that mindset. This is Alabama. This is Bama. We don't lose. And they probably were waiting on that game for weeks. And that shows you the value of coaching, because there was probably very little discrepancy on the talent level of the teams, but my man from Georgia got out-coached yesterday, and it was very clear that they came in much more prepared.
Yeah, I can't stand Bama, but you can't.
You don't like them because they too good, or what?
I guess it's almost like the Dallas Cowboys aspect. It's not even the Dallas Cowboys, it's their fans. So the same thing with Bama, you know what I mean? Like, their fans get on my nerves, especially because you have a lot of the fans that don't truly know. All they know is they're winning. They don't really know the intangibles of it, but they gonna yell in your face and you can't say nothing because they probably whooped your ass. You know what I mean? So, but, they got a storied franchise forever. I mean, Derrick Henry, what was the quarterback that went to Philadelphia. This
Hurt.
on Philadelphia.
Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurt. Yep. You remember when he left there? They just replaced him right away. Like, there's somebody waiting for your spot, and they gonna win a championship with it.
So I did catch the game with the with Michigan, and they mollywopped Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. I seen somebody in the chat that said Michigan can get Bama this year.
No,
They even said nah.
absolutely
They even
not.
said nah.
No, no. And you know why? I think the problem is that you got, it's a lot of sports is psychological, and a lot of people don't realize how psychological sports.
You're right.
Is. If you're in Michigan, you may believe that, but the guys at Alabama know they can beat your ass. They know. It's a difference between believing and knowing. And them boys down in Valley know they can beat. Once they beat Georgia, they knew everybody else was in trouble. And it's a mindset thing. Every time they step on that field, they expect to win. When it slips up a little bit, that's how you wind up losing to Ole Miss, or you wind up losing to Arkansas. You get your one win. But them boys know. They know they're going to go on the field and do what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's definitely a different beast, man. And you know, because a lot of people probably look at Georgia and be like, "Yo, they got a tough defense, man. Ain't no way in hell." And then you see Alabama going there. Exactly, man. That's definitely demoralizing.
Jesus. Even when somebody else mentioned in the chat that, you know, when Bama's back against the wall, it's almost like they play 10 times harder. That they're coached 10 times harder. And that's what it seems. It's almost like I like seeing Bama being an underdog, because it always seems like every single time they come out on top. I don't know what that is. I think Avon got a point about it being psychological. And I don't know, man. Bama is just that's a tough out, bro. That's a tough out.
You know what they are? They're what Notre Dame used to be.
Yeah,
every time Notre Dame hit the field. And this is, you asked earlier about, or not, Jay was talking earlier about not liking the fans. You know where I have to check myself? I was a Miami fan. You know what I'm saying? So like when Miami was making their run, everybody hated Miami, especially because, you know, the swag that came along with it. And people need to check themselves sometimes, because as a Bulls fan, I often did not realize how much people hated the Bulls outside of Chicago. You know what I mean? When teams go on these long runs, you just gonna get hated on. They're gonna think you're cheating. They're gonna think you're doing something wrong. But when people put together these long dynasties, there's always gonna be people that don't like you. And the great part about it is it don't matter to the people that's winning.
All right, so we're gonna pivot a little bit away from the Crimson Tide topping Georgia, Michigan beating Iowa. And we're going to get into the thick of things, because I'm always interested when I see a woman for the streets, or what we think is a woman for the streets, right? And now she's starting to participate on a much larger level. And I'm going to reserve my thoughts. I'm going to open up the chat or open up the panel for you guys. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for you guys to be able to cam up. Make sure you guys hit a like for the YouTube algorithm and show some appreciation for my man Avon, my homie Jay, my homie and my brother JR. We gave him the day off, but we know he watching. And so he let me out the cage today. And he said, Anton, I need you to run the network. I said, my pleasure. I can't wait to find some woman for the streets to talk about with regard to sports. But anyways, the big homie Deion Sanders invited Brittany Renner to educate Jackson State University football players about the game played between a man and a woman. My translation of that was she was giving them the game on how not to get finessed by these chicks. So maybe Brittany Renner is serving a purpose that's much larger than herself, much larger than what we projected her to be, or not, right? The context behind it was, and this was Deion Sanders' take on it. My responsibility as a coach is to prepare the young men for everything on and off the field. I thought Brittany Renner, and I think she educated and she understands how the game is played between men and women at age and stage. The confusion may not be for everybody, but for someone like these young men, for the sake of it, believe me, is going to help them. Right. So that's the context behind the thinking of what Deion Sanders is emphasizing is necessary in order to bring someone like a Brittany Renner in to speak to the players. Now, I don't know who tried to holler at Brittany. I don't know if they was listening. I don't know if they pay attention. I know that the NBA specifically has they have classes that they're requiring their players to take a lot of times in order to become more financially savvy. So we don't know what this is going to translate like, but I'm curious as to what Avon is thinking, what my homie Jay is thinking, and then I'm dropping a link in the chat for you guys to be able to cam up, and I'm going to drop it in the description for those of you that are coming late. But what are your thoughts, gentlemen, on Deion Sanders bringing Brittany Renner in to speak to the players about the game played between men and women?
You want to go first, Jay?
You got it.
Okay. I love this. I love that Deion did this. A lot of people don't realize that coaching young men, especially young Black men, involves more than X's and O's. And you have to, because we see it, right? You're in practice with a kid. He says something, it's kind of dumb, or you like, no, man, that's not how it works. And we have to have these conversations with these young men because they're not. And here's the crazy thing. We're not on some levels in public. We're not even allowed to have these conversations anymore. You get painted as a misogynist or as a woman hater or something like that. This is the way it used to work. Old heads used to put young heads on game. Deion is doing what is demanded of him as a leader of young Black men, and I applaud him for that. Look, a lot of people don't understand, man. Women like Brittany Renner are wolves. Wolves are going to hunt. Deion is helping them get through the forest without getting their ass bit. He is doing them a major favor. And anybody who would question that has not dealt with real life and real women before.
I feel like the NBA has been doing this on like a lower scale. You know, because I know when they first come in, they have those kind of rookie sessions where, like you said, they're teaching them about finances. But I don't ever think, they brought in like a real live demon into the meetings, you know what I mean? Where as she's talking to you, you don't care anything that she's telling you about because you're looking at, I think somebody said, look at what she had on. You know what I mean? Like she's actively stealing your soul while she's telling you about her friends that are about to steal your soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the method was excellent. I think it's something that they need to do. I think she is appreciated for doing that because she's like, yo, my friends, they snatching souls out here, fam. A few of y'all gonna get your soul snatched. So whoever's sitting next to you, keep an eye on him. His soul is gone pretty soon because my friends out there, they waiting for y'all. You know what I mean? They waiting for them contracts. So I think when they see it from that perspective, live from somebody that had the opportunity to or has done, they'll take it a little different, man. They'll take it a little different.
Kyle, what's your thoughts, fam? And welcome to the panel, bro.
Yes. Sorry about that, y'all. I switched from iPhone to Android, and it's all bad so far.
No, I'm sorry. You switched from what to what?
I switched from iPhone to Android. I went and got a S Galaxy, and I don't know so far.
Oh my!
Hang in there, bro. It gets better.
Right, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I imagine y'all talking about Brittany Renner coming to JSU.
Yep.
You know what? I actually think it's brilliant on Deion Sanders' side. You got to meet these kids where they're at sometimes. And although it might be a little bit awkward to see, and it's a little bit, unconventional to kind of have somebody come in who's, she likes to play like her intentions are pure and she's just kind of taking life as it gives to her and all this. But, she's pretty much the new age superhead. She's superhead who's trying to have some integrity. So for Deion to bring it in, I think that it's for the kids. So some of these kids, I don't know how many pro athletes, Deion really has on his roster, but some of these kids are going to be finessed by a woman sometime down the road just because they think that they're outsmarting the woman when really, this is her mission. So I can appreciate it because Deion knows he knows what the culture is looking like. I'm sure Deion gets plenty of DMs himself. So, I think that I think it's kind of appropriate, that he brought her in and kind of just to have her bring some reality to some of these player situations. So, I don't know if he wants to bring in a new woman every year to kind of drive the message home every year. I don't know if he wants to necessarily do that. But, Brittany's kind of the flavor of the month of the last 2 months.
Maybe
sure
they should put her on retainer.
Maybe, I don't know what that check was like, but I hear Brittany gonna need it, so she might have to be coming through just for the basketball team, the baseball team, all of them. She's gonna have to give a pep talk to everybody. But I can appreciate it. I think that Deion knows what's going on in the world today, and he knows what his players talk about. I'm sure he hears, whatever's going on, and plus, it's gonna help players around the country, not just his players, but this might prompt coaches to have these kind of conversations. Maybe not bring in your latest Instagram model, but definitely sit them down, let them read a couple headlines, let them see these are the kind of people that's waiting for you once you sign your contract. So, maybe Nick Saban need to bring in Brittany Renner and have some of them, kids talk to these women because those are the players who probably get the most DMs. They probably get the most money in terms of name, image, and likeness. So they already are having access to money. So what could have been like a video vixen could just be the college girl down the hallway or in the other floor that's looking to finesse you. You know what I mean? That girl who's in your English 101 class is looking to finesse you. They know about your national ranking, and they know about, the fact that you in a dorm. It's supposed to be 3 people in your room, but it's just your room. Kids know these kind of stuff. So, I'm not mad at Deion at all for that.
You know what's crazy is they don't even have to be potential NFL players. These are lessons men need, period.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're going to be, I guess we can use the term, they're going to be high value men without football. They're graduating from Jackson State University. They're going to probably go to grad school, have great careers, and they're going to be, I played college football at Jackson State, and they probably going to stay in shape a little longer. They're going to be encountering a lot of women who want what they have and want who they are, and they need to learn how to navigate this now. This is not some shit you need to figure out at 35. You know what I'm saying? Like that'll lead you straight to hell when you're 35 years old, still trying to figure out what the hell is going on in the streets with women. You know what I mean? So I think the crazy part to me is that there's going to be 1 or 2 guys in that locker room, that shit went completely over their head. Then they're going to be in a situation 2-3 years from now to blaming a woman or blaming somebody else for I'm a baby daddy now, I'm on child support, and they're going to be cussing the sky. It's sitting right there in the room, and I could do better. It won't be me. It's always going to be one. I guarantee you.
Oh, I'm sure it was somebody out in the stands or whatever that was like, man, as soon as it's over, I'm about to go shoot my shot at Brittany. I don't care what nobody's talking about. So she got up there and broke down the whole science about getting finessed, and all some dude in there could be thinking about was, I'm trying to get her Snapchat real quick. So
fam.
I don't.
Fam. Yo, but that's the thing, man. That's the thing about the devil, yo. The devil is the devil for a reason, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. You thinking like, well, let me hear him out. No, dog. Once you let them speak into your ear, it's going. You know what I mean?
Plus, Brittany's style, it's not so, in your face. You know what I mean? Guerrilla tactics, all in your personal in terms of social media. In her credit, she seems like a nice enough woman, and I don't necessarily think that she's.
Kyle.
Look, the average man with average intelligence, is self-aware of what he looks like and where he is in life, right? So when, if you ever walk down the strip in Vegas and you got girls walking up to you handing cards, you know what they selling that ass. You know what's going on. So you're not, oh my God, this girl on the strip is all in my, you know what they was on. Real, they look like real life. They 8s, 9s, and 10s, but they look like they lead a regular life with a regular job. But those are the ones that get you so damn fast because your guard is down. You have to have that guard up. You have to evaluate every situation for what you see, and you can't fall into that trap. They all capable, bro. They're all capable.
All right, I'm gonna start pulling people up to get their thoughts. And then as I pull people up to get their thoughts, we're just gonna do a popcorn style. We just gonna kick it, have a good time, vibe out, see what it is that you guys talk about. We might have some debates, we might all align. I don't know. We're gonna see what's happening. So first person that I want to bring up is a person that added to a super chat. So I want to bring up the homie, the Ingram experience, because he said he wanted to give his perspective from a D1 athlete's perspective. How you doing, Mr. Ingram?
Hey, salute, brother. It's good to have a chance to talk to you, man. I always tune into the show. Maybe a little bit controversial with some of my super chats, but at the end of the day, I got to keep it real. That's just the way I flow. You know what I mean? But hey, look, man, it's a salute to all you gentlemen. First of all, man, I enjoy the conversation, enjoy the sport talk, and sometimes I like to separate away from my platform and whatever I do, and just having men talk about sports and life is always outstanding, man. But let me tell you, I fully support Brother Deion, what he's doing, man, because I think, like, as a parent, I mean, like, I have a D1 athlete. He's Division I basketball, but it's different than what it was. Like, when I played college basketball, okay, it was in the 90s. Like, then you didn't, if you had a beeper, you were a man. So nobody had social media contact. There was no DMs. You know what I mean? Dudes like kept 75 cents in their pocket because they know they had to work that payphone. I haven't seen the payphone in a long time, man. But now, like, it's active 24/7. And the problem that, all right, obviously my channel is about more advocating for and empowering young men, but the amount of pressure that an athlete is on, because for instance, I played at Seton Hall. So you come out that tunnel under the Meadowlands, right? After that game, you got about 5, 6 chicks lined up. And, what do you play? Georgetown, or what do you play when
sounds
he's on
sounds like an interesting time and a hard thing to get away from.
Yeah, like it's tremendous, man. You got it in the dorms, you got it after the game. It's a different experience, and you have people that are reaching out to you that, like, you don't even know these people, man. And it's crazy because and that's me with 75 cents in my pocket, broke college athlete drinking that Bones Farm in the dorm. Well, I'm not gonna say that, but I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? We drank back in the day.
Y'all drinking that Mad Dog? That's what y'all was on in the dorms.
Funny, man. That's why I just did that video, man. You can't be serving top shelf liquor to bottom shelf broads. That's because back in the day, dudes used to grab Friday night in the dorms. Everybody broke. You ain't drinking no top shelf shit. You getting that Mad Dog 2020. That Wild Irish shit you drinking. That life is. So, but I couldn't imagine. Like, I have conversation with him because he just transferred out of Wake Forest, but that's a whole nother story. I don't want to get into that. But it's a lot more pressure with them. They're on all these apps. They got like all these people on Instagram in their DM, women in their DM, women waiting after games. So I understand Brother Deion from that perspective, because what happened in our community, and Anton has talked a lot about our community and our culture, is the lack of masculine male leadership. Because even sometimes on the show, I see Anton opens his mouth and he's masculine male leadership, and people be jumping on him, and I be getting mad in the chat, and I be sending my crazy super chats at him because they have a problem with masculine black male leadership in our community. So what I do is this: with young men like that, considering like 70-80% of our kids are born to these single family homes now. And also you have, and even in some of our schools, these men have been beaten down. They're so emasculated. You don't really have anybody directing these boys, teaching them how to deal with women, how to deal with life, how to deal with all kinds of things, finances, all these things that need to be taught to these boys. So when they get to the college level, campus level, they haven't really experienced that type of education and teaching. So what Deion is doing is trying to school these boys to what their father should have taught them. And it's so necessary because there's a big bullseye on these kids, man. You're in that space. And even my son, now he's in the basement now. It's like, man, look, you've got to learn how to have discipline and how to deal with these situations. And you got to understand that everybody who coming at you ain't really for you. So you got to learn how to, not deal with the situation. And even the kids right now, the kid who just got drafted out of here, who's with the Nuggets now, and I talked with his manager and whatever else, he had to revamp this whole social media and get rid of people. Anton knows it better because he's in the business, because obviously we're dealing with NIL now with the name, image, and label, where kids can make money off of their imaging. It's another show I'll probably try and link out with Anton, whatever, because he's not even understanding how to really market his brand as a D1 college athlete. So that's all kinds of shit going on, man. It's like crazy because it's a different type of world, because they can make money now off their branding with NIL. And we haven't really explored it because some people may be profitable, some people may not be. So there's a whole lot of things going on that you have, like, it's a whole deep discussion. NIL just opened up a whole nother backdoor with advertisement. Now people are even coming at him with advertising shirts and goods, and now you got to worry about those people along with the women. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. So I salute Deion for bringing in, at least trying to take the women thing off the table and educate these boys, because they got a whole nother pressure coming with the NIL thing,
And to kind of go off of what you're saying, to piggyback off that, a lot of kids are probably coming from small market high schools where they could have been the man among, a couple hundred people, you know what I mean? They might have had access to a few hundred girls, let's say. Well, they go from that to Ohio State, they go from that to Illinois, and now you're exposed, you might be the man on campus, 18 years old. You're pretty much, breakfast for, all of these undergrad women. When I was in school, our team wasn't even that great. And still, the guys who were the stars, they had women coming at them all hours of the day, every day. You can hear what's going on in the room at night. So regardless of how impressed you might be, it's like, man, he got to do that every night. So now, where college athletes are making money, they're able to move around the campus, move around that particular town and community, and really become like a public figure, not just a 18-year-old college student who's on the basketball team, but you have the opportunity to become a sponsor or like a spokesperson for your local car dealership, your local businesses. So all of a sudden, it's not even just the school that's necessarily relying on you. It's also some of these local businesses that kind of want you to help them promote their brand. So kids got to learn how to navigate that. And it's really easy, especially in your first semester, your first year as a freshman or whatever it is, even as a red shirt, to get caught up in your own celebrity and get caught up in your own hype, to the point where, you could definitely find yourself in a not so ideal situation when it comes to women. So, I agree that I kind of salute Deion, because he's trying to put it in their minds early that, these women are out here. These women are going to be coming after you. Your DMs are going to be hot, So again, I agree that your Deion's doing the right thing, I think.
Let me get Sway's thoughts. Sway, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Hey, how you guys doing? Honestly, this is kind of from the college kids' perspective, because I had a lot of college friends that was on the basketball teams. They were the D1 athletes, and I wasn't the D1 athlete, but I was the friends of them. So I always saw what was going on, how they move, who they interacted with, and I would go to the parties with them, and I would try to be in their ear, keep them on their heads, like, all right, 50 girls gonna come up to you tonight. 40 of them at least going to want something out of you. 10 of them probably going to want you for real. So you got to navigate that. And then that was one thing I was always in their ear about. I was like, you got to really watch out for finesse, because a lot of times I think Deion, he was bringing it up basically based off of money. But as you saw by Zion a couple years ago or last year, there are girls just trying to expose him for talking to him, just trying to discredit his image. You know what I mean? So I'm like, even regardless of money, you know, they be girls out here just try to discredit you just because you're somebody. And I'm like, you really got to look out for these girls and really maneuver the situation. But I also hear that now in these younger days is a little bit different because of social media. If you watch that video, you saw as soon as she came in the room, everyone started making noise. They didn't have to say her name. Everyone knew who she was. Everyone already know what she was about. Everyone probably in that room knows the PJ Tucker situation, and they already know that the finesse is out there. But I think Deion bringing her and her actually talking about it maybe can solidify in their minds that this actually happens, and this doesn't just happen to one guy like PJ Tucker. No, this can happen to you, and it does happen. It just doesn't get promoted all the time. It
so let
happens
me
every
ask
day.
y'all. Let me ask y'all a question, and we're gonna do a popcorn style. So there is no cadence. I do want to hear from some of the guys, Vic, Tommy, Yellow, everybody, right? And now, see, I'm gonna dig in deep because it's beyond surface level for me. Is the message, because I'd love to get in the room. Maybe I'm about to book Brittany Renner. I'm about to fly her out. Is the message, don't get caught up with the chicks as far as wear a rubber or whatever, or is the message, don't even mess with them at all?
Don't play with it.
But see, here's the thing though. Do we really think that these athletes are going to be celibate, or are they not going to do something with somebody? Like, I don't think that a lot of these guys are mature enough. Maybe that's the word that I'm looking for. Mature enough to be able to decipher who it is that they should rock with and who they shouldn't. Who is really on them for their team and who's not. I think a lot of them is probably they superstars on their campus, and it's probably for a lot of them, it's going to be the last time that they ever get this level of visibility, considering that most of them is not going to make it into the league and all of this other type of stuff, right? Is the message then, because if you're trying to resonate with people and you're trying to help them to understand how it is that they need to navigate through life in general, or you're trying to get the best results, understanding that some of them is going to get finessed anyway, is the message that she's teaching or that she's preaching, should that be, protect yourself, or this is what to look out for, or don't get involved at all?
I don't think you should ever teach. Well, I don't think you should say don't deal with the devil. I don't think you should say that. I think you should say, when they pop up at your front door, this is how you move. So if that's what she's preaching to them, because they're gonna be there no matter what, the lifestyle that they're in, they're gonna be there. So when they show up, don't even open up to them. You know what I mean? They'll come in a form that appears to be friendly and endearing and inviting. Stay away. Teach them how to navigate that. Not, just leave them alone. Don't even go that area, because the devil comes to you sometime. You be chilling in your crib, man, just minding your business.
I don't remember what country it was, but one of my friends told me when she went to Africa that they gave her a brochure when they got off the plane that says, when you get robbed, do this. It wasn't saying if. It says, when you get robbed, do these things. Like, they already thought that you were going to get robbed beforehand. So there are things, like my man Jay said, you can't control everyone and make them do certain things. So there are going to be leeches out there who want to leech off of you, and you're going to have to maneuver that. And if your mind is, okay, if I don't get her pregnant or I don't marry her, then I'm Gucci, I can do whatever I want. Like I said, you got the whole Zion image thing, or the whole Tupac thing, where they could just make up stuff and discredit your image. It don't have to be as far as you marrying them or giving them a kid. They can just have an accusation. They don't go to jail for that. But
Tyson is gonna hit you.
Hey.
What are you gonna do?
I think the general message of him is, this is what the predator looks like. This is what to avoid. Because, and my message to my boy is this: look, you there for two things. Your girlfriend is that basketball and your schoolwork, and you on your purpose. If you have to deal with women, find one woman that you can trust, and you, whatever friends with whatever benefits relationship you guys have or whatever, but deal with that one chick, because you don't need to be contaminating you don't need women showing up at the dorms. You got homework to do. You got things to do. You got to train. You got to develop. You got study halls. You can't be having that type of life and be productive and build for the future, because that's going to jack you up. But I think this is predator education, because a lot of these guys are preyed upon. And you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I've had incidents in the dorms with people just showing up. I don't even know these people. So I understand the pressure. So I think Deion is just trying to give them a head start on what predator looks like, how slick they are, how they're going to be coming at you, and how to deal with them. I think it's smart.
Yo,
I think they're.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tommy. I was going to get to y'all at the bottom. I did want to get y'all jumped in.
I think it's genius. I think it's a situation where he's not necessarily trying to reach all of them, because you can never guarantee that. But if he can reach one, then it's worth it. Kind of a lower correlation. And when I was in the military, we actually have to go through a class over something like this, because in military towns, we actually kind of have the same issue. Especially with single moms, they know that they can get the benefits if they get with some of these guys. And some of these guys are 18, 19, 20, first time away from home, gullible as hell. I told the story in the other stream that I was in, that I know a guy that married a chick that had 5 kids and he had none. 19-year-old kid, swore he was in love. So it's of course it's on a different level, but the same type of predators. You know, I can get my kids set up for life if I marry one of these guys. You know, and you end up, you know, married to a chick with 4 or 5 kids.
But 5 kids though, he couldn't see that from a mile away.
Bro,
5 little
gullible, bro. You gotta remember, a lot of these guys are 18, first time away from the house. A lot of them never really had attention from girls and stuff like that. I mean,
that's a lot of kids, but
I can't see it, but it's weird.
5 kids, man. Let me tell you something, man. With all due respect,
and that's why I think these.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, go ahead,
bro. I was just gonna say these some new 18-year-olds though, man. Like, I don't believe these young guys is as naive as we think we are, man. Like, a lot of us speak from the experience, and we ain't grow up in social media era.
I'm
walked
22.
in that room, they know exactly who's.
Never would.
Okay,
never
so
thought.
I mean, this is around the same age, but you know what I'm saying.
Y'all can hear me all
right?
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can hear you, fam.
All right, I didn't mean to step on you, brother.
Oh no, you all good. You all good. But I was just saying they pretty much aware of, you know what I'm saying, a lot of what's going on. And just like PJ, I mean, you had to get caught up. You wanted to get caught up nowadays. You know what I'm saying? These young guys know that there's some gold diggers out there. Like you said, a lot of these stories ain't publicized, but a lot of them are. You know what I mean? And for me personally, like, I get the message and I get the intent. I just don't think the predator who's waiting outside the door is the one that should have been presenting the message. Now, they got the headline, yeah. And, you know, Deion all about the flex anyway. You know what I'm saying? But I believe that, you know what I'm saying, PJ probably would have been the one to convey the message to him. Because like you said, you want to expect these 18 to 21-year-olds to sit here and look at Brittany Renner and think about anything that's coming out of her mouth?
Would you use the victim or the criminal to teach kids about crime?
Yeah, but I need somebody who still ain't committing crimes, though. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you to be like, hey, look, watch out for the thieves, and then you go outside and be waiting to jump me and steal from me when I step outside.
But who would have more game about it?
Yeah, that's it. Hey, gentlemen, can I jump in here, man? Here's
go ahead, man.
I think people, you know, I'm like one of those people. I can't stand the victim Olympics when it comes to people in life. So I look at things from a perspective of victimology, and that's the relationship between a predator and or the offender, and that's more of a self-empowerment thing, because if you know the actions of the predator, then the goal is to not become a victim. And I think what Deion is trying to do is demonstrate what the predator looks like. We got to remember, when I coach basketball, man, I'm taking kid home to the projects, and I got my gun on me, obviously, and the kid is watching his two little siblings, and this is the situation some of these boys are growing up with, these single moms and stuff. So they really haven't had any masculine teaching. So Deion's probably like him and the AAU coach or the high school coach is like the only father figure they have. So they're not getting the message really. So as much as we think they're aware, a lot of them are not, man, because they have some rough situations, man. So even now I've left coaching, man, because I've become like, man, I just can't afford all these kids. So it's at the end of the day, man, they're not really getting the message, man. Coaching used to cost me thousands every year. I was like, man, I can't keep buying kids food, paying for books. I'm like, oh man, this is wiping my pockets out, man. These single moms are wearing me out. I had to get out of coaching. So
can I jump in on that one there? Let me jump in on that one, because as coach to coach, when that man said I had to stop coaching because it was costing me too much money, that hit me in my soul, sir. That hit me in my soul, which is
expensive, brother.
We want to talk about the women, but we got to do two things. And we love as men in this community to use the word accountability. We're going to have to start taking some accountability as men. We're going to have to start modeling our behavior better. I coached elementary school, high school basketball the last 5-6 years, man, and I had just got a long-term relationship. That relationship produced a son. So I had my 7, 8, 9-year-old son with me on the bench with me while I'm coaching. And if you guys know anything about youth basketball, there's a lot of single mothers running around youth basketball. And I partook.
They said my son need a father figure.
Right. So what you gotta understand though is that lifestyle has a shelf life. That red pill lifestyle has a shelf life, because what happens is that 7-year-old son is now becoming an 11-year-old. He played his first game yesterday, man, heart in the throat the whole time. And I told my homeboy about post game, I said, son, now that you're an athlete, we're going to have to start having conversations about what that means. And what part of those conversations are, if you're an athlete, certain things are expected of you, certain things will not be expected of you. And here are the pitfalls. We have to have this conversation younger. If you think it's your 16-year-old son or your 14-year-old son is too young to hear words about manipulative women and how to handle your penis, you better add about 5 more years to your child's age, because these kids see and hear everything these days. Everything. What you were doing at 16, that you was like, man, I was a little out here. They doing it at 12. They are out here 12, 13 years old in these streets living that life. We have to start talking to them younger. They do not need to learn these lessons at 17, 18, 19. Freshman year of high school, they need to know how they're going to get with the little cheerleader girl that's tracking them down. That's when that education has to start. We can't do it at 18, 19, 20 now.
Hey.
And Deion probably deserves a little bit of applause too, because I'm sure there's not a lot of coaches that even have that conversation with their players. They just pound that, keep your head in your books and keep your head on the court or whatever it is, keep your head on the field. They don't necessarily attack the issue of women all on them.
You don't think
I
so?
think it's good.
I don't think so.
You guys have to believe that there's somebody along the supply chain that's telling these dudes at some point, yo, it's, stay focused, whatever. I don't care if it's an uncle. I don't care if it's a teammate. I don't care if it's their teammate's daddy that drove them to the game that day. I mean, it's got to be somebody in the supply line that's saying, yo, fam, stay focused, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all don't think that that's already happened to a larger extent?
I bet you that somebody was in TJ. I bet you somebody was in TJ Washington's ear since he graduated high school. Hey, man, watch out for these girls. Watch out for XYZ. Brittany Renner's only 23 years old. So I'm sure that there's people who try to tell them good advice. But when that thing is in front of you, you may not necessarily be thinking right. You know what I'm saying?
So you making my point. It's good that Deion is just reminding them right before they enter that phase. But they've heard that before. And honestly, nobody needs to tell a man to stay away from those girls because we know who those girls are. Just like we say women pass over good guys to hang with the bad boys, we pass over good girls all the time to hang with the bad girls.
No,
you know what I mean? We know. You said not
Anton from AntonDaniels.com as a part of the Lapeef Network.
Hey, you tapped out early, bro. That was hey, you know when you won. You know when you won. See, you were smart. You knew when you won. See, we love Kelly Rowland, but we want bad girl Riri. You understand what I'm saying? So
okay, so let me ask this question. Come on, y'all. Let me just take a consensus. Frame it how you want to, put it in a perspective that you still single, whatever, so on and so forth. And then I want to get my boy Dre, because I know that Dre was an athlete at Ohio State, right? So I do want to get Dre's perspective. But how many of us, and I'm very curious, today or yesterday would pass up on undressing Brittany Renner? Honestly,
Anton, most guys is going to bend Brittany Renner over and do what they
have to do. Now you got to say that clear. You said pass up on what?
Pass up on undressing Brittany Renner. I mean, I guess because the point that I'm making is that who's passing?
I'd pass.
Well, because we have information.
No.
Come on,
Sway, you blind, Sway.
Let me reset the room. Let me reset it real quickly. Let me reset. The reason why I'm asking this, and I still want y'all to answer honestly in real life. Do we really expect 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-old dudes to do things that some of us would not do today?
Honestly, brother, the answer is no. Most dudes, the only reason why we, hindsight is 2020. We know what Brittany Renner is about. Let me tell you something. Like I always say to the kids, sometimes dirty water will put out a fire. You don't need that necessarily. You get that 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on a Friday night. And you hit them phone lines and you're coming up dry and you see Brittany and she's a sure thing and you run it. The coaches always tell us, man, if you ain't score by 11, take your ass to bed. So I'm getting close to my 11 o'clock score curfew, right? All right, that's what all the coaches tell me. You ain't getting no ass by 11 o'clock at night. Take your ass to bed because you got practice in the morning. So, it's like 9:30 now. You see Brittany. And you're like, man, I got to hit something. I got my Bones Farm. I got my Mad Dog 2020, and I ain't got no woman. At 20, you got, all right, Brittany comes out on your door. You're smashing. I'm sorry. If you don't know about Brittany, that's what's going on. I'm being honest to you from a man's perspective.
If you don't know her,
if you don't know her. If you do know her.
If you do know her, you probably, most of the, listen, it's 10 of us up here. I think it's more than a 50% success rate.
No, for sure. I'm
at 18,
I just wouldn't do it. I don't know why.
At 18, I probably would.
At current age, I think that is more of a 50% success rate.
It's 10 of us up
information
here.
now.
15 of us is knocking that down.
With knowledge now, dudes we mess with. I mean, there'll be some dudes would, but with knowledge, the knowledge that we have now, what's she about?
Okay, so hold on. I want to come back to this. I want to come back to this conversation, but I do want to get Dre's perspective because I do know Dre personally. Dre, as an athlete at Ohio State, what are your thoughts about this whole conversation in general, or just give me whatever it is that you felt like you wanted to contribute to the conversation?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's up, y'all? So I really think the biggest thing is for us, I'm not athlete anymore, but for athletes to not think it can't happen to you. You know what I mean? We know what's going on. We know how girls are, but we really don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, we have access to so many girls that we're just trying to knock them all down. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think the biggest thing that we need to do, or that people need to tell us, is to really just protect yourself. Like wear condoms. Don't take risk like that, because you can't tell 18, 19, 20-year-olds not to talk to these girls or to practice abstinence. It's gonna happen. It's just these girls are bad, man. Like
which comes back to the original question that I had in the first place. Should the message from her be to stay away from the girls? Because if we focused on the results and we trying to focus on success rate for the guys in general, I'm wondering, because I'm even conflicted myself with the conversation, because as a person that moves based off of my lifestyle or having certain standards and principles by which I have to live by, my messages often at times walk away altogether, or this is what I stand on. I don't believe in sex before marriage, so on and so forth, right? But the conflict for me often at times come from, well, I know that people is out here having sex. Am I trying to mitigate or solve for the or try to perpetuate the best possible scenario, or am I just trying to be right? You know what I'm saying? And so that's the conflict that you kind of have as far as trying to assess or evaluate how it is that you need to put this message out here, because the only thing that I care about is the results. And if the only thing that I care about is the results, do I need to tailor my message, or do I need to focus more on what it is that I need to be telling them from a righteous perspective? And so that's why I kind of asked that question, because I don't fully know the answer when it comes to every single circumstance and situation, especially when it comes to sex, because there is nothing that weakens a man. I've seen men give up sex. I mean, give up everything for sex. They will give up their whole career. They will give up their life's earnings. They will give up their children. They will give up their wife. They will give up their mama, depending on the type of girl that walked into them for a minute. And so again, you know, if a man's weakness is his inability to be able to control what's in his pants, how do I solve for that?
Hey, look, you asked the question right. Should you say that since you know that people are gonna do it anyway, should the message be focused more on making sure you're protecting yourself and trying to make sure you're not accidentally getting this woman pregnant or STD or whatever? I watched the first episode of Ray Donovan. It's a TV series, and he's a fixer of sorts, you know, and one of his clients was an NBA player, and they had these girls, you know, on that certain list that these guys pass around, and the guy, he did everything right, made sure he used the condom, took it, tied it up, threw it in the trash can, went to sleep. Girl gets up, takes the trash can, takes the condom, puts it in a cooler on ice, put it in the cooler on ice, and then takes it and hands it off to the person outside the room, who takes it to the car, and then Ray Donovan catches him, boom, takes it, gets rid of it. But the whole point is that for every slick trick you think you got, they got one more. That's just the way that class of woman moves. So
I heard they got your boy Larry Bird.
I don't think there's a foolproof way, but I can't say don't strap up. I say strap up anyway. If you out here and it's not your wife, you probably should be strapping up, or that's gonna come whether she was a good woman or just a trash bag, you know.
Yeah, you ever heard that Larry Bird story?
Anton, can I address this real quick? Because like I said, I tune into the Lapeef show all the time, and I watch you gentlemen on and the ladies, but I think the message has to be tailored, and here's why. Because dudes are going to have sex regardless. They're going to smash. So the question has to be how do you create the situation to create the less harm when you're dealing with young men? And I think the focus need to be on discipline, because we don't have enough masculine males in these spaces. You know, too many unconscious simp in the spaces, not teaching men how to value themselves. And like I always say, nobody takes care of you like you. So you got to be disciplined and avoiding simp behavior. And you don't become that until you value yourself. And that's the tailoring of the messages, because they need it most. Young men need that. You know what I mean? And that's what has to happen with our community. You have to get these men. Like I would say, I'm always trying to raise the price on black men, because I think men sell themselves too cheap to our community, and they don't really understand their value. So we have to get that message to these young brothers, because when you value yourself, then you look at a chick like Brittany Renner differently. So I think that's the tailoring of the messages. It's about raising people's value, raising people's awareness, because you've been listening to Auntie and all them other people all your life, and you didn't have no real masculine leadership, you know, because I'm at a point even with my boys, I'm willing to pay dowry now for unsold women. I don't want my boys marrying these women with these high body counts and that's been out here in the streets. I'll pay the dowry. You know, I'm not doing all that, you know, inviting all that trash into my family. I want to see who your grandmom is, who your mom is, who's talking to you at night. So I've got extreme with me. You know, I don't want that. So I tell my boy, look, find one chick you can deal with, rock with, stay on your purpose, because you can't get caught up in that nonsense, man. You're going to end up jacking up your whole future. You knock up one of these chicks, your life is screwed.
I think
I agree with that, but the only issue is we're not thinking that far ahead, and maybe we need to have conversations where we sort of instill in young men like what our plans are for the future, because in the moment all we're thinking about is her body. Like we're not thinking about certain things like that. We're just like, she looks good, like I'm trying to see what's up with her. You know what I mean? So that's how mistakes can happen. So I really think that we need to plan more so, like have conversations with Deion, like what Deion was doing, but not just with women like that, but also planning on what you want your future to look like, because that will maybe make you think twice about the women that you're dealing with, if that makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely does, man. I'm so glad you said that. You know, I worked in the school system for 10 years, and that's one of the hardest things to communicate to kids is the value of time in the moment. When we as 30, 40-year-old men make decisions, we think about how these decisions can affect us 15, 20 years down the road. And we forget how when we were 18, 19 years old, we couldn't think past tonight. All we could think about is tonight. And when you're talking, you have two people in two distinctly different mindsets and not particularly sometimes interested in hearing each other. The commonality has to be the results. What do we like? We want to get through what we're going to do without sinking the ship. We got to sail the ship through the harbor without sinking it. And I think that's so important that we hear that from young guys, man, because we forget. We forget. Anton asked us, well, you know, who would hit Brittany? 41-year-old me is running the other direction. 19-year-old me is dropping balls immediately. So, you know, like we have to remember their mindset. We can't put a 41-year-old mindset in an 18-year-old's head, man.
That's true, but the problem is that you got 41-year-olds to have no impulse control. It ain't just these young boys. You got grown-ass men. I turn to Lapeef show. Sometimes they get in these lives with some of these dudes. You got grown men simply.
I think Anton alludes to it. He didn't say it earlier. I know Ingram mentioned it. And I know Kevin Samuel brings it up as a big point. But you say even 40-year-old men, what type of family did they have? What type of family did they grow up with? Anton's like, I just feel that I just would just walk away, probably based off of how he grew up and the standards his family set on him. Even in Italy, I'm half Italian, and I'm sure they do this, and they still do this in Africa, but they hold their children to higher standards than themselves. It's like if you embarrass the family, it's like the family lineage, the family image. You're not doing you like it's not you personally. You it's not all selfish on you. Like in America, we promote make yourself happy. You put yourself first, yourself, and that's just kind of how we got. So everyone's doing them. But you get people who hold a higher standard and say, I'm not going to embarrass my father, my mother, my aunties, my grandmas by, you know, doing all this stuff with all these women, you know, or the women doing all this stuff with all these men. It's like they have higher standards and then they more likely will get married. They're more likely to be successful. Their children will be, and it just leads on. But once you break that family structure up and understand that the family is the most important thing, like in the Black community, we've had it, you know, in America has been messed up. So I'm not surprised 40-year-old men still feel this way. I mean, they probably grew up with a dysfunctional family and they just still got to figure out and they do what they want. And society tells them, do what you want and make sure you're happy first. I don't know what, you know, and I think that's kind of the root cause of it. And then back off one point, the whole Brittany Renner thing, I don't think bringing her in alone was the best thing. I remember watching this podcast and these white guys were talking about it and they went to some party with some Arab dude and there was a bunch of baddie girls there, all 10s. They thought they were just there for the party, but the Arab dude was like, nah, all these girls are working. And they were shocked. They were like, these 10s, 9s, 10s, 8s, they all work? He's like, no, she's stunning. She can't be working. Like he came up to her, came back 1,500 and a trip to wherever. And he was like, what? So I think just bringing someone as Brittany Renner, because she's so famous, it's like, oh, she's famous, you know, it's her. But even the average tens that don't have social media can still finesse you, and they will finesse you, and they will still get a bag off you. And I think if he brought in like a variety of women who they don't know and could be anywhere, and they couldn't be on anywhere any day on the street, and saw that this is the type of women that you can still get finessed by, and not just some famous woman like Brittany who is made off of it, you know what I mean, known for it. You can still get finessed by people who's not quote unquote known for it. And I think that would have been a bigger impact on that room than just her.
Well, I kind of disagree. I think that bringing in a bunch of different women, I mean, I don't disagree with the point you're making, but I wouldn't necessarily bring them in because first, if we're trying to impact young people, teenagers, late teenagers, 20, 21-year-olds, I wouldn't maybe bring in just women. I want to bring in some maybe former athletes. I mean, maybe not every program is going to be able to do that, but Dwight Howard.
Talk about it. I mean, get a variety of them, and so that it could be more instilled. That it's not just like this one-off chance that you get this one type of Brittany Renner who is her whole life kind of seems that she's been chasing bags off of rappers and athletes. It's like no, there are women out here who chase off of businessmen, rappers, athletes, all types of men, and you don't even know who they are. So it's like,
so you want to bring a variety of predators.
I just think it would have been a bigger image or a bigger impact than just one Brittany Renner. It's like,
Brittany Renner was just something Deion pulled off the whim, but I think we have a simping epidemic in our community. We have a morality crisis in the Black community. I mean, let's say, for instance, look at Boyce Watkins. That's the biggest simp out here on the planet. Here's a guy.
I gotta be doing Dr. Boyce like that. What Dr. Boyce?
I'm saying, like, think about it for a second. Let him. Here's a man. There's a woman when she was in her prime in her youth, wouldn't give this fool a time of the day. Now she's like old and getting like that. Remember that Food Lion used to sell that expired food yesterday? I mean, like back in the 90s, they got dinged for that expired food. So she rebranded herself. 3 kids, married. Wouldn't even talk to this dude when she was in her prime. And this dude think he got a trophy. And he's out here simping and telling these Black men that they should be ultras, hardworking young men that have went to college and school and worked their ass off, that they should go marry up some single mom or who passed by them when they're in college to go date Pookie and Ray Ray. Absolutely ridiculous. So simping is an epidemic of simping in the Black community. And that's from the absence of masculine men and fathers. When we sold our family to the government, on some bullshit back in the 60s and replaced men with government benefits. So we don't have these masculine men in the community. A lot of these guys have been beaten down by these single moms in these households. Because I used to go to the ghetto. I used to go to these kids' house and hear their single mom, just emasculating them and all that stuff. So we have a culture that has a moral crisis that needs to be fixed. And we need more fathers in the home. We need more masculine fathers in the home to help raise these boys and mentor them. So what you're seeing is an absence of that in these 40, 50-year-old men and these weak type mentalities that you have. Because anytime, I can even watch on the panel, anytime a masculine guy like Anton speaks, they want to silence him, especially when he takes leadership and direct the direction of what he wants his family to go. They're always trying to do that. But the problem is there's a crisis in our community and it's moral. So we're kind of repairing the dysfunction.
Let me ask you a question in your experience. I also want to ask you a question about what you just said. Now, you said that we need more strong men and fathers in the home, right?
Right.
But you said that these men shouldn't take their resources and hand it over to single mothers who may have passed them up in their prime, if you will.
Right.
Now,
what? Hold on. Let me reframe. No, I call it the Forrest Gump effect. I've been programmed to look at things completely different. Like when I look at movies. Let me acknowledge the super chats before we get going.
Sorry, but I apologize in advance.
Hey, you don't even got to finish it, yo. I heard.
I got a collective agreement. Everybody was
I got to acknowledge. Hold on, y'all.
It's good to see when the fellas agree. Lewis, you know what I'm saying?
George Lewis, I absolutely appreciate you. $19, $20 saying we can tell our young men about the women to avoid. But what about the character traits of young women that they should pursue at that age? I appreciate your super chat. Let me also acknowledge some previous super chats. JJ sent $5. I appreciate you. Hink75 said, great show, guys. Kicking knowledge while talking sports. Good shit. Anton shouldn't say, oh, shoot, I shouldn't say that. My daughter is here. Good stuff.
Shout out to Hank.
Yeah, but I definitely call it the Forrest Gump effect, because when I look at stuff, when I look at books and conversations and movies and all of this other type of stuff, right? When I watched Forrest Gump, everybody was fascinated by Captain Dan and Bubba Gump Shrimp and all of that other type of stuff, right? But I was fascinated by Jenna. I was fascinated by Jenna and how, you know, she went out and she did what she wanted to do and she lived her life and she walked away from Forrest and all of that. And then when Forrest, you know, got rich and Jenny, you know, she was on the tail end of her life, she, you know, she wanted to go live in a big house and spend the rest of her years, you know, under Forrest's wing, although Forrest had been protecting her since she was a little kid. So I kind of identify with what you're saying, but go ahead. I know somebody else was about to say something.
That was his baby, though.
I just wanted to frame it. I just wanted to frame it.
How low character can you be if you take advantage of someone on the spectrum? You know what I'm saying?
Hold on.
You're on the spectrum. You take advantage of it.
Hold up. He's not on the spectrum.
You ain't let my man.
That man was a war here, yo. That man had a business. This man with ping pong. This man won't know on no spectrum. If he was a genius spectrum. I don't know.
Oh man.
At Anton's point, I'm young.
He was bell cow running back too.
I never thought about. It's like you rewatch movies when you get older. I never rewatched that. And
see what I'm saying?
When he brought that up. It took me a second. I was like, yo, Forrest was getting finessed the whole time, and then she came back at the end. I'm like,
nah.
Oh, we've been saying that.
See, your point is defeated, Anton. Your point is defeated because he said, dang, where's his daddy? He said, what's his name? She said, Forrest. I named him after his daddy. His daddy named Forrest too. Remember that?
That wasn't even his. Yo, I honestly, seriously, when I watch stuff and I see stuff, I see a completely different narrative or a completely different conversation is developing in my head from the thing that is being communicated on screen. I don't know. It just translates differently and it hit differently. And maybe it's just the way that I see things. Yeah. But it was communicated subtle, like it wasn't in your face. They didn't say, okay, here's a story of a simp that got rich and then came back and saved a chick that had slept around and act like a hippie for the rest of her life. Right. The story was marketed and it's framed in a way in which you can't truly decipher it unless you have that firm understanding or you got that father figure or you got somebody in your life that's taught you differently or you've been exposed to certain things, right? You can't decipher that. The only thing that you understand, and this is the thing that we say a lot of times about women, in which they've been indoctrinated with Disney movies and all of this other type of stuff, and then they think that a guy is supposed to come back and move a specific type of way, and then they hit the wall, and it's a completely different reality for them. So I kind of understand exactly what the English series is playing.
But it's worse. I can attest to that because I'm from Oakland, and we kind of have a different mentality about stuff. And I used to tell guys when I was in the military, like, bro, if y'all was back home, they would be taking y'all checks, like straight up, because the women out here, they bop the bag and they will get you. I mean, I had a cousin that kept on telling me, bring one of your friends home, bring one of your friends home. Like, they will get you. They different out here. And so when I do get around guys from other places and they show that naivety, it's like, for me, it's goofy to me. Because I'm like, that's why I said, like, when I seen that, maybe first or second, we been on Jenny, like, oh yeah, she's scandalous, she tripping. Why he go back to her? Like, we been on that one.
You know, another movie, man, that kind of started teaching me some lessons. Y'all remember The Inkwell? Lorenz Tate and Jada Pinkett, bro. When he knocked on the door, dog, and saw homie in the big drawers loving his girl down. Yo, that shit broke my heart, fam. That shit, I was like, man, these chicks ain't shit out here, fam.
What was worse about it is like, okay, I don't even want to call her name, but like even they was just doing the lead and Kevin Samuels doing that April Mason thing about men are some byproduct garbage that they were talking about. But to go further into that, like I talked about that Food Lion thing back in the 95 or whatever, they got dinged for selling that expired goods. But at least Food Lion sold that food at a discount price. What you have is these chicks that alpha imprinted and shit, ran through like in their youth and didn't take advantage of their youth. Now they older. They trying to rebrand that shit and sell it at full market value. That's they don't even want to give you a discount. Like, yo, you have like 100 bodies on you. I ain't paying full price. About, man should in this conditional femininity, a man got to bring this to the table, that to the table. Shit, you better come with everything. Assets.
He said you want open box price.
Yeah, I'm saying, give me the Food Lion price. You know what I mean, baby? Let's cut the nonsense. You got 100 bodies on you. I'm looking for half price. You know what I mean? But that's the problem. And these dudes be paying
vintage.
Full price.
You paying vintage prices. You paying for
that meat started to change color. You paying full price on some changing color meat, dude? Come on, man. If you're gonna give
man, it's dry age. It's just Asian. That's all.
Let me acknowledge these super chats. Tommy B, he said Tommy B just preached. Dudes be getting got because they never had nothing or had none. A mere observation with vibe. I appreciate it, family. And then a story to tell. I appreciate you for the 20.
I was going to say to Sway, because he said, in Italy and in other countries like in Africa, that last name, a lot of people have to remember our last name don't mean nothing to us because it ain't ours. My last name is from England or whatever. I have no attachment to that. So that pride that people from these countries come with, that ain't us, and people can call it what they want to or whatever, but my last name, it is pride as far as like the people that I know that's attached to it. But as far as it going back to a land of people, it ain't that deep for us.
But there was a time where we did have pride, even in these white names like the Washingtons or the Jeffersons. You still think of those as black people if you live in the black community. I mean, you don't necessarily think of George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, stuff like that.
It was for.
But I'm saying we could have pride in things, but things have happened.
Land.
Yeah, we don't have a land to claim for real. But even amongst the black people growing up, like before 60s and the welfare and then the feminist movement, all that, we have pride in our names and our communities and ourselves. It's like for some reason we just lost that, and I think we just need to get it back. I mean, I don't think it's going to be easy, and we just have to spread that message that we can't be selfish anymore. And if we want better for our community, then we have to understand that our community comes first. Not in the sense that, we're going to put black people first, but like Anton said, we'll put the competent black people first, and we're going to try to trickle it down and work our way to most people's competent. Because right at this moment, we're not going to lie, like a lot of black people didn't grow up well, and we're not all competent. We're not all successful. We're not all there. We didn't grow up with the structure to be well educated or to have higher than a certain grade, reading level, let alone, past high school. So I think we just need that 10% and then keep trickling down years and years. This isn't a tomorrow, switch. It's going to be.
But Sway, what is a 18 and 19-year-old proud of these days? Okay, so if it's not their family surname and their lineage, in my opinion, it's really the things they accomplish, and those accomplishments are centered around women. It's about how many women you can conquer, how much money you think you can make, and just showing that off to your friends. So I think that when you talk about or Tommy, when you talk about, some of these people in these other countries have a pride in their name, and so we don't necessarily have that here. We replace the surname pride with accomplishment and, your financials, and as a man, how many women you can conquer. So that's why I think it's kind of tough.
I think we replace it with like chains and cars and like,
well, that's much.
Replace it with anything real.
Wait a minute. Are y'all trying to say with knowledge and some kind of pride and country that these young boys is gonna stop messing with these fast girls?
No, I think if we hold them to accountable more than just being your own self pleasure. Like if Anton, I'm sure his dad won't allow him to do certain things. He respected his father, and he wasn't going to do certain things. But like I said, a lot of us don't have those fathers or those structures to have even implement that from a young age. And
Hell no.
It's not going to happen.
Anton, you told the story. Now. Tell the truth. What did you say? The first thing you said to your wife? What did you say that was?
What that mouth do?
Hey, I'm just saying it wouldn't matter.
Hold on. What does picking up women have to do with anything? How you
brought up his how he was raised and how his. I'm just saying, God's gonna be God.
I will say that. Once I found out that she was a certain I don't know. I don't know. It was just like I was just taught to look for certain things in women. Once I realized she was a certain type of person, she actually asked me to take her virginity, and I told her no. I wouldn't touch her. And I told her not only am I not going to do it, but I'm not going to let nobody else do it. On top of that, there were certain lines that I wouldn't cross. Now, kids are naturally rebellious, and they're always going to go outside of the guidelines or whatever it is that their parents tell them to do, and that's just a part of life. But the idea of it is that you give them the foundation and you set the standard and you establish structure, hierarchy, and you give them discipline, and hopefully they don't go too far out of those guidelines. And one of the things and the reason that I know that works is despite the things that I did, there were certain things that I wouldn't do and certain lines that I wouldn't cross because it just went too far above and beyond the thing that I was taught and the structure by which I was placed in. You know what I'm saying? And it had nothing to do with whether or not I thought I was going to get in trouble or not. It had more to do with whether or not I had a certain level of self-respect for the thing that was placed in me from the people that came before me, such as my father. So I do agree with Sway, right? I do agree that despite the things that I did do, there was so many other things that a lot of people got into that I looked at and I was like, nah, you a little bit out of your mix, homie. I'm gonna go ahead and walk that way. And then eventually I went all the way back into the thing that my parents, not only did I go all the way back into the thing that was established in me, I went further into it. And now I'm an even bigger advocate for the things that they placed in me. So I'm better than the generation before me.
And I'm not saying it's a one thing that's the big, like the issue, like, and it's not, like I said, you said men will be men for the most part, you know, testosterone, they're going to say things, but we can't act like men haven't adjusted to the marketplace. It used to be back in the day where we had to marry women just to get the box. It ain't that no more. And I'm not saying it's going to be that, but we can't act like that, you know, if we want to have sex with them, they can say no at any point. They can be like, no, I don't want to have sex with you. You got to come talk to my dad, do all this, go through this, see if you match up, and then we can see where this goes. But they don't want to do that. We know they don't want to do that. I'm not saying it's as easy as telling them to go talk to a male figure to vet guys. But I do think there are changes we can do to fix stuff. And I'm not saying there's one thing.
Y'all did not answer the question. Y'all didn't answer it. Well, let me get to these super chats really quickly. Yeah. Delbert Stallworth says, shout out to Tommy B from Vallejo. You're right. And Jenny also had an unknown disease. We all know what that is. That she died from. Forbes needs to get a few tests. Anton, thanks for the game and the Patreon. You're welcome, fam. And make sure y'all hit a like and subscribe to the Lapeef Network also. Life of Jake said, keep doing what y'all doing, bro. Y'all talking some real stuff. I got a question. Have y'all ever thought about doing a podcast with Fresh and Fit? No, we don't do podcasts with Fresh and Fit. We straight. We kind of do our own thing. Because we two different brands. No shade to Fresh and Fit, but we just kind of
they have a morality issue, but that's another thing.
But last but not least, I still want it because a lot of y'all never ever answered the question. Where do you balance the whole idea of telling them to stay away completely or doing the right thing versus trying to solve for what we can get as far as the best outcome for the majority of them? Do you let them to do whatever it is that they're going to do because you feel like they're going to do what they do anyway and you just try to protect them from the worst version of them? I don't know what that looks like. A lot of y'all kind of skipped over that point, and y'all skipped over whether or not y'all would buzz down Brittany Renner today.
I'm not busting down Brittany Renner. That's one. I think that you spoke to it, Anton.
I think we right here. Hey, Anton, I think we addressed it. If not knowing what we know today, and we just saw Brittany Renner's smash. Let's take that off the table. The second thing is I think you tailor the message, okay, which is this. If you're going to be in that situation, you're a high-profile athlete, and I regret many of the women I smashed in college. I wish I drank less Bones Farm, smashed less women, spend more time doing some of the other things that were more productive, okay? But also, too, for the young men, you know, obviously the women that you sleep around with and the women you're going to be married to is different. You know, I always encourage men, young men, if they're at a certain age, you're young enough to get a woman that hasn't been imprinted on. She doesn't have the negative baggage of, she don't have that alpha widow crap on her. She didn't have baggage. You don't know if she got some domestic crap and other crap that she's got from dealing with guys. I think you have a more chance if you're going to marry somebody, have a successful family life. If you don't have a woman that has been imprinted upon by some dudes, got all that baggage with her, because men are different. Men are going to want to have sex. It's that hormone factor. We have how many times more testosterone than women. So to tell young men not to have sex, it's going to fail right off the bat. But I just try and encourage them, hey, target one woman or deal with one woman. And if you're going to get married, find somebody that don't have that the body counts on them. I know it's hard with the WAP culture out here, but I don't give a damn if you have to jump on a plane and go to another country. Get a woman that haven't been imprinted upon by all these dudes, man. You end up with other people's problems. And that's probably your best chance of having a successful marriage and relationship, because you guys can pair bond and build a relationship together long term. For younger men, you know.
Well, Ingram, I think that Avon actually spoke to this earlier. Whereas the conversation, if we want the young men to have a little bit more self-respect, and Anton, to answer your question, I think that you can't tell them to stay away or, you know, avoid this entirely. I think there's a certain kind of woman that you could stay away from. You could tell an athlete, don't get on Instagram trying to be with everybody. Just stick with your on-campus options. Don't try to, you know, be getting flown out somewhere or find somebody out or telling some very known video vixen or whatever we call them, these women, Instagram models, to come on out and you go, you know, you'll hold them up in your condo apartment, whatever these athletes are getting. You need to be trying to have these conversations with these men when they're freshmen in high school. That way you could have instilled some discipline, instilled some self-respect, instilled some messaging. That way when they get to that point, they'll be able to better deal with it.
Is that early enough? They already getting caught into the lifestyle by the time that they get out of high school.
6th, 7th, 8th grade. That is the make or break time for a young black man. That's the danger zone. We got a danger zone for the women, the danger zone for the men, especially black men. It's ages, I would say 11 to 14. If you can make it to 14 years old with some sense and some structure, you're going to be okay. If you can't figure it out in between there, you're going to have a hard life.
Yeah, but so that goes back, and that's
a real hard time.
And then we coming right back to Kyle right after the super chat. Delbert said 47. When I talk to my sons and other men, I always ask them if they use their calculator. What's the cost of doing business with women they are moving around? What's the cost of doing business they are moving around?
Big time.
Delbert. What was you saying, Kyle?
Just to kind of go off Avon's point, you know, and again, to address your question, it's hard to say don't do something. It kind of reminds me of the conversation around drugs. It's like, you know, you get in your, you know, as a kid, is pretty much pounded in your mind to say no to drugs, stay away from this, you know, all these different things to ruin your life. Here's your brain on drugs, you know, all these things. As soon as you get into the opportunity as somebody is passing you something, you have to hope that all this discipline that you've been given and introduced to will work for you in real time. And I think it'll be the same way with these certain kinds of women. You really can't tell them don't get with any woman, but you want to say, okay, this is what the internet is like. Stay away from all of this extra stuff. You got a whole campus full of 30,000 students, 20,000 of them are women. Try to find something out of that. But then to go to the point that Ingram made about, you know, try to find you a woman that doesn't have the imprint, that's nearly impossible these days. I mean, it's hard, especially as the older you get and you're a high value kind of athlete where everyone's trying to get next to you. The only women who are really going to be shooting their shot at you or open to your shot at them are the women who have body counts on them. It's going to be hard to have a stature athlete like that in today's society, be with a girl who isn't necessarily that experienced, isn't maybe that sociable. You know, these guys are thinking about brands. They're thinking about bragging rights. They want to be able to tell their friend, oh, yeah, that girl over there, yeah, I've been had that. Them girls over there, I've been to. Oh, you trying to get with her? I've been had her. So these are the kind of things that guys, to me, are proud of. So it's going to be hard to try to instill a message of less is more, because you'll have to get a young man who has long vision, you know what I mean, who kind of has their future in mind and not necessarily the now. And like Avon said, when we all young, it's about what we doing tonight and what we doing tomorrow night. It's not about what my life's going to be looking like 5 years from now. They thinking about, trying to smash today. So hopefully if you have any conversation with them at 11, 12, 13, and I'd like to hear maybe Dre's opinion, would that have been a conversation that he was open to as an 8th grader, knowing, it's hard to know if you're going to be a successful athlete 5 years down the road, but I know that a conversation like that, you may not even be mature enough to really handle the serious nature of being finessed by a woman. And you don't even know that the ultimate finesser, that might be a college girl. It may not necessarily be an Instagram model. It just might be a girl who, was that kind of girl in high school. And now she done turned it up a notch when she got to college, and she's your next door neighbor in the dorm. So it's going to be hard to preach a message of, abstinence. If anything, you just want to pound the discipline in them, try to have them recognize certain characteristics in a woman and then move accordingly.
So hey, I want let me close out. Let me close out with this, because I'm gonna leave with this, right? Just to answer your question, no, I wouldn't smash Brittany Renner, but the younger me definitely would have, without a second thought. But the fact of the matter is, the younger me did. So now my motivations is different. It ain't new money to me no more. I did that already. I've messed with women who I'm clear like, why? There's no reason I should deserve this. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna take it. And then now I learned to understand my true value, to add my real value. So why would I lower myself to a woman like this just because she got these looks and that's all she got? So to what the young brother Sway was saying, as far as having some self-pride and things of that nature, I agree with that, but that's long-term. What we're talking about is for the kids who are not getting that instruction, who's not getting those lessons early, who's out here just getting it how they live. And the only thing I can say is the oldest profession in the game is what? Street walking, ladies of the night.
So let me pivot. Let me piggyback.
I got you. Don't pivot just yet. I want to leave you with something.
No, I was gonna ask you a question before you.
Okay,
left.
go with it.
The Brittany Renner walked into, was it Jackson State, right?
All right.
On behalf of Deion Sanders to give the game. We've been talking for a little while about advocating on the behalf of a lot of guys and where we need to reach him and so on and so forth. Us as older, mature adults understand the game because we played the game a little bit and we see what the moves is out here.
Right.
Conversely, I'm looking at reports and I'm gonna do a whole show on it at 3:00 on my Millionaire Morning Show when I live stream that. I'm looking at Tristan Thompson, and I don't want you to go too far into it because I'm gonna cook that all day today. I'm looking at Tristan Thompson as a grown man, right? True. He can't stop getting finessed today.
Yep. Something wrong with that dude.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you what it is. I'm gonna tell you what it is. And some people on that range where they can't say no. You got some dudes who are completely carefree and they couldn't care about it. And there's some dudes who, hey, you say no to ratchet, I can't. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. So all I can say is, men are on that scale. And as you know, as your emotional discipline matures as you age, then you kind of range through that scale until you can get to where, you're making the choice and not your co-pilot. You know what I mean? But all I can suggest to anybody who at any age is having that issue is I got this verse for you. You a brother of the cloth, so you'll know this. This is Proverbs 6:24. It says, to keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman, lust not after her beauty. There you go. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart. Neither let her take thee with her eyelids. So way back then, people was getting finessed out of their whole inheritances for you know what I mean, for them bedroom eyes. to the point where it made it into the book, the most important book. You understand what I'm saying? And all he's saying is, hey, put the blinders on. If you focus, be focused. That's all I can say. Don't stare at him in the eyes too long. It's like Prince. Don't do it.
I gotta go. So before I leave, I wouldn't pipe Brittany Renner. I wouldn't do it. I've had my fair women.
But as a matter of fact, Sway, hold on, because we just got Vic's final words, and I do want to wrap it up, and I just want to give anybody, and we're gonna do it popcorn style. We're gonna, start to wind down, and I want to get everybody's final thoughts about everything before we wrap it up. And first, before we even do that, let me say I appreciate every last one of y'all for joining in on the discussion, supporting the platform. Each individual. First, I got to give a shout out to my friends and my co-hosts, Avon, Jay, Kyle. Shout out to y'all, the Ingram Experience. I rock with you, family.
Thank
Dre,
you, brother.
You already know Dre, you my dog. Yella, Tommy, Just Vic, Sway in the morning. I appreciate every last one of y'all for making this whole conversation dope and phenomenal. I also want to give a special shout out to everybody that support us through the Teej Hanley sponsorship. Thank you for holding us down. Thank you for everybody that sent super chats. Thank you for everybody that hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Everybody that was lit and that was holding it down in the chat. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. I want to get the gentlemen final thoughts. If you want to contribute to the final thoughts, feel free to do so. It's no specific order. We men, we know how to have conversations without it getting crazy. Obviously, we do it every single time that we all cam up with each other. But I want to get all of y'all final thoughts. Sway, I know you was already cooking, so I'm going to go back to you. Sorry for interrupting you, fam. Do your thing.
Like I said, I wouldn't. No, I mean, I understand men who don't have, experience with women and they kind of just take what they can get, but I'm good on that. It is what it is. But I think the message overall, wholeheartedly, because you can't. It's like if we're deliberately only talking to men, that I think we should tell them just try to avoid it as much. While after college, I think that's the craziest you can go. Like like just stay in college and deal with the college girls because they're more naive more often than time. Maybe they still have love, and I think there's a higher chance. But once you got into these streets, it ain't no love, man. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Love ain't the first thing that they coming looking you for. So I think while they're in college, tell them it ain't gonna be like it is out there. Do what you got to do here. Don't get nobody pregnant and live your life. But outside, then you got to start, spread the message like girls will finesse you. Be more ready and don't just fuck anything because it has a vagina. Stuff like that. Like, but that's just me. But all right, y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all.
Super, but hey, Anton, I have a roll out here.
All right, bro.
All right, family.
I got to roll out of here in a little bit. I'll be brief because I got to go support my brother,
Do
the
your thing, fam.
The coaching clinician. He's another one of the masculine men in this space. To support
I like
brothers.
culture.
But the 18, 19-year-old me, not knowing anything, is smashing Brittany Renner. The 47-year-old me wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. But my thing is always about advocating for young men and men in general, black men in general. I'm more about advocating for men, empowering men. I am the anti-simp guy. You see simping, you're gonna get that super chat. Right for me, knock it off. I want to raise the value on black men. I want to raise the price on black men. I think we undervalue ourselves, and people try to make us altruists for a community without standards. People don't want to live up to the standards, but they want you to sacrifice. Absolutely not. You set the standard, then you get the sacrifice. But also, too, with these young men, my content is targeted towards them for another year or so because I believe that's where it's needed most. Because at the end of the day, we got to change this matriarchy back into a patriarchy, where fathers, where men are so strong in positions of leadership and the right type of men. But I support Deion Sanders and what he's doing. He's giving these young men who probably haven't been exposed to fathers in the home the best opportunity to be successful because they're not getting the message from social media. They're not getting it from the culture. So I salute Deion. I salute you, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Thanks to Anton, too, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Man, I'm out of here, brother. I'm going to support another brother. with this platform.
Thank you. Appreciate your Ingram experience, fam.
No problem.
Hey, Anton.
Gotcha.
Let's
I
do
sort
it.
of want
What's
to
happening,
touch on
fam?
what Kyle and Avon, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, said earlier.
Yeah, right.
But y'all really hit the nail on the head. Like, I think we really need to have these conversations with kids earlier, like as early as 11, 12, 13 years old, right? That's something, even though necessarily, like for me, when I think about it for myself, I probably wouldn't have really been as receptive to it, but you guys would have instilled it in my head, so I would have known what to look for as I started going into high school, as I got into college. I would have noticed red flags with certain women. But at the time, I'd be like, what's this dude talking about? You know what I mean? And I think also, like, for me, I didn't know my father till I was 18, so I didn't really have a man telling me these things. So I think it's important for coaches. I think it's important for men that are around sports teams to have these conversations with young men, because other than that, it's not going to happen. And we're just going to be sort of, like you guys were saying earlier, like simp culture. You don't really have a lot of experience with men, so you don't really know how to deal with these type of women. So like me, I didn't really know until I just started having experience with women. I'd be like, oh, what's she on? Like I noticed weird things. Like I was really smart with women. I never had an issue with women, so I knew what they were on. But a lot of people aren't like that. It just, so having those conversations earlier will prevent a lot. And even though if it seems like we're not listening, we're listening. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I rock with that, fam. Thank you.
So, Dre, do you think that a 12-year-old today is open to that conversation more so than what you would have been when you were 12? Or do you think it's the same mindset?
I think they're more open to it because there's so much more exposure now. So all they're seeing is women all over social media. They see what's going on, like issues with athletes in the media, so they'll understand what you're talking about. Before, it might have just sounded like you were nagging, but now they have real world examples of what could possibly happen. So it will make more sense. So now I think they'll definitely be more receptive than I might have been.
Yeah, I think.
They definitely will be. They definitely will be receptive. Because I was just gonna say, I got two boys myself, and I got an 11-year-old. You know what I mean? And he stay on TikTok. He stay on. You know, he got his little Instagram page, even though he wasn't supposed to have it. Got his little Instagram page. You know what I mean? And he doing all that. And I sit him down and I talk to him all the time, just because he's starting to like girls. He got a girlfriend at school. You know what I mean? He's starting to break away from playing with the game. The wrestling figures ain't getting played with as much, and he on the phone a whole lot. You know what I mean? And he don't talk to his buddies like that. So I know exactly who he's talking to. And I tell him all the time, man, just be smart. Be smart. And it's funny that y'all mentioned movies earlier, because one of his favorite movies is Spider-Man. Now, always teach him, with great power comes great responsibility. That's the way you get to them. You reach them on their level.
Wait, Yella. Did you also teach him not to be simping for the listen?
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Superman is the biggest simp.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is a simp.
Yeah.
Batman is a simp. Every last one of these I'm about to do a whole show. Every superhero you know is a simp.
Please, I will be there.
Except Batman.
Except Batman like that. Batman ain't.
Except Batman. He's my favorite just because of that. He ain't going.
Batman is trash. Think about what he's doing. He's a wealthy man picking on people in poverty and beating them up, bro. Like, Batman is low-key trash, dog.
Hey, man. That's cool too. But you know what though? He helping he helping the less poor people than those poor people. You know what I'm saying? He helping some. But nah, it's great to be up here talking to you fellas, man. I'm gonna go and hop off, man.
All right, brother.
Hey, y'all take it easy, man.
I think one of the major things that everybody missing as far as with the Brittany Renner thing is I wouldn't mess with her because I can't stand her voice off rip. Like, when I hear her talk, it's like nails on the chalkboard.
We doing final points too.
Though,
let y'all know, fellas. We doing final points because I'm wrapping up the whole stream right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna add my boy Carrot Juice podcast
because
I do want to get his thoughts too. But we are doing final points, so I just want to let y'all know that I want to wrap it up.
But I think that conversation is needed at that age because I go back on myself. My dad was real cutthroat with me when he talked to me about women. So I didn't grow. You know, we all grow up with this kind of fantasy in our head that women are innocent. My dad didn't allow me to grow up like that, and my mom hated it. She would hate when he had these talks with me, but he was being real. And the funny thing about it, because I talk to her now, is like everything he said came true. Everything he gave me no filter. They gonna lie, they'll do this, all of this, and honestly, at that age, it didn't really sink in, but it was still a seed planted. And then when stuff would happen, it would build, it would build, it would build. And like I said on the other show, at a certain point, I said, man, this dude been right about all of this stuff. And it finally connects. But the seed was planted. And so I think it's important to start that young. And even if you think that they're not listening, and even if they don't necessarily implement it, you still put that conscience. Like when I heard Anton talking about it, your dad kind of added a conscience to you. So even when you was doing stuff, and I noticed that with me, like when I ran the streets a little bit, I had a conscience these dudes that didn't have a dad didn't have. So it would be certain stuff we would do, and it was another barrier for me to get over to even do this stuff. That for them, it was like, it's whatever, So I think that's what's important. Is just making sure you have that conversation, even if you think they're taking it in or not, because eventually it will sink in once they start seeing your words come to fruition, and then then they'll be able to fully take heed of that advice.
I like that. I appreciate you, family. Thank you for that. Service USA sent 5. He said, just tuning in, bro. You're gonna have to catch the restream because it was absolutely
what did I miss? Come on, man.
Absolutely a beautiful conversation. Anybody else have anything to contribute as far as a final? Well, let me get to Carrot Juice. Carrot Juice, you got anything you want to contribute to this conversation before we start to wrap it up, family?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you phenomenally.
Oh, thank you for having me on, guys. Thank you for having me on, Anton.
Yep.
I didn't catch the whole conversation, but I just wanted to add that I think what Deion Sanders did was a really smart and shrewd move, because he's teaching young men at a very impressionable age that Brittany Renner is the exact woman, not saying that she's a bad person, but she's the exact woman to use as a cautionary tale, because if you are successful and if you are planning on being what you should be, you need to understand her mentality and women like her so that you can move in a way to eventually get the outcome that you want. And yeah, you might have fun with some women who are like Brittany Renner, the IG models, the baddies and everything. But if you don't understand their mentality and how they move, it's going to be hard for you to be successful and eventually be the man that you're supposed to be. So I think that what Deion Sanders did, even though it might look weird on the outside, it was a very smart decision to make sure that those men could be prepared for the women that are going to be after them. Because if you are successful and you are an athlete, you're a high value target to a lot of women once you are out of school. Even if you don't end up making it to the league, you're still going to be somebody that's sought after if you get a degree, if you end up earning money and things like that. So I just thought it was a very smart move that he made for them to be able to learn on what they're going to encounter once they get out of school, and even while they're in school, because that's what happened to PJ Washington. So I just think that was a wise move. I appreciate you guys letting me speak.
Absolutely, fam. I appreciate you for joining the panel and continuing to rock with us, bro. Thanks, fam. Anybody else got any final thoughts? Anything?
I would just say that right now I would not be going, but I would have for sure been going. I guarantee there's players on Deion Sanders' team that are going. And so it was probably very productive for him to bring her in. Like, okay, y'all think y'all want to get with her? Let's bring her in and give you the insight on what she thinks about you. And so I think that it was a brilliant move. I think that the average person probably is going to probably go down and get with Brittany as soon as possible. But I think that the culture is trying to say, don't allow yourself to be finessed. Don't allow yourself to be put in a position that's going to be detrimental to your future, and don't allow yourself to be taken advantage of. And I think that that is the message. I don't think it's necessarily don't have sex or don't hang out with this person or whatever. It's just don't think that because you're you that you won't get taken advantage of and that you can't be finessed by a woman just like this. Some of y'all said y'all trying to get with her. Well, here she is, and here's what she's thinking as y'all are talking. So I think it was a great move. I think that a lot of coaches are probably going to start to bring in more people of this stature, you know, athletes who have a bunch of baby mamas and things like that. So I think that Deion really kind of opened the floodgates to a whole new sense of awareness for a lot of athletes.
Absolutely.
Zach Levine for MVP.
No.
But absolutely. But I mean, I definitely think, you know, in retrospect, if I was younger, 20 years younger, of course, Brittany Renner, I would have done that. You know what I mean? Like at that age, you only live once, you know, 20 years forward, dog, you only die once. You know what I mean? You live differently. And as far as what you would, I guess, bouncing back and forth as far as what to impart on a younger person who's doing that. I mean, and when we were growing up, there was so much things that we could be shielded from. There was so much stuff that we might never, you know, come in contact with. Now, with the privacy, it's almost like all access to everybody, you know, and you may not even want it and it just comes to your front door. So I think it will almost be a disservice not to prepare them for that. You know, like this, you know, I know you're living this way, but in the event that this comes to your front door, this is how you should handle it. So I definitely think it'll be, I definitely think what he did was beneficial, and you're going to see a lot more people doing it.
Anybody else? Anybody else got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think for me, any black man that's in the earshot of this, what I'm about to say really needs to listen. From the black man that's in the grave to the black man that's a millionaire, they are in those positions because of decision making. We have to make our kids much better decision makers. They need to start navigating these things younger. You should not be moving into adulthood at 17, 18, 19 years old, learning some really hard lessons. You need to learn that stuff 13, 14, 15. Make your mistakes then when they hurt a little less. And I think and I'm going to go back to the thing of modeling behavior. I was out here enjoying these basketball mamas like a lot of basketball coaches were. But at the end of the day, I said, I can't model this behavior for my son because he's coming into a point in his life where I don't want him to see me in the streets because I don't want him to think that that's normal. So I think as parents, as black male parents to young men, whether they're involved in sports or not, we have to model behavior. And a lot of like the man said, find one woman, man. Like I said, I was in these red pill streets the last 10 years, man, and I found somebody that's really making me happy. And I'm starting to realize, you know, that this is the way we can, A, as black men, be supported better, and B, make a lot less bad decisions.
Look at Avon. Avon used to be out here.
Sticking and moving.
Red pilled down.
Red pill gangster for real.
Like, look, man, I could get your son on the court a little bit more time, but you know.
Nah, we appreciate that.
Whole story. We could do a whole show about that right there.
That was dope. I like that. Anybody
might be worth exploring. I mean, it's to piggyback off this conversation. You know, what do the athlete's mom or parents? How do they impact, you know, their college experience? So, I mean, that may not be a conversation worth skipping over.
That's dope. Anybody else got anything to contribute to the conversation before we wrap it up?
I'm taking
Final
Brittany
thoughts
down. I'm taking her down.
Hold on, you taking her to you taking her to dinner first, or you just it's right there on the dorm bunk beds?
No, see, I know the difference though. I'll take her down and on my terms. I'm not flying her out. I'm not taking her out. I know what it is with her, but there's a difference. Like I know there's a difference with women like her and the woman that I just married not too long ago. Like I'm not doing anything with her like that. She's not getting that type of treatment, but I'm still taking her down though.
Well,
you strap up every time.
Every time.
But Brittany Renner won't deal with you unless you're doing that. Brittany Renner won't deal with you unless you flying her out, getting her Fendi, Louis.
At the end of the day, she's just a woman. Like you say the right game, you spit the right game, you're gonna get out of her.
I don't know about that, bro.
Dudes be out here raw. That's the problem. Raw.
Take Brittany to Red Lobster, and she going just like the rest of them, bro.
They do be going out here raw.
He
But
said
we
Red
do got
Lobster.
to wrap it up, y'all. We got to wrap it up. Listen, this has been an absolutely phenomenal Sunday. King Talk. Lapeef Sports. It turned into King Talk, it seemed like. But Lapeef Sports, everything based off of sports on a Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. All right. I love the fellas. I appreciate y'all. Ladies, y'all going to have to call up and get involved in these conversations too. Because I know some of y'all is watching sports. But we're evolving. We're melding sports with real life conversations, along with assessing how it is that we can become better versions of ourselves. All right. Shout out to my partner, my bro JR, continuing to do what he do behind the scenes on the work that he's taking care of. I am going to be live streaming at 3:00 on the Millionaire Morning Show on my other channel. And then I might do a whole nother live stream later on tonight about how your favorite superhero is the biggest simp of all time. All right. Listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in and rocking with us. We're going to do the same thing next Sunday. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And again, support our sponsor, Teach Hanley. We appreciate you. Until next time, peace.